Hello, everybody. My name is Amanda Nduka, and welcome to Deadline's virtual Sundance studio. I'd like to welcome the team from How It Ends. Please welcome director, writer, actor, and producer, Zoe Lester-Jones.
Woo!
Hi. And right next to her is director, writer, producer, and editor, Daryl Wine. And then we have Kaylee Spaney, star, actor star.
Star
Yes,
to
star.
the world.
So this is such an interesting concept. And you guys, it's amazing how you guys did this during quarantine. So Zoe and Daryl, can you guys just start us off? Can you just tell us a little bit about the film and what inspired it?
The film is about a woman played by Zoe Lister-Jones named Liza, who goes on a journey across the city of LA on the last day on Earth to try and make it to her last party before the world ends. And she runs into this crazy cast of characters along the way.
Yeah.
And Haley plays little Liza. And I'll let Zoe talk about the origins.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically on this journey, I am in dialogue with my younger self. So Kaylee's a metaphysical presence. And yeah, we started conceiving of the film pretty early on in quarantine. We were, facing such an unprecedented time, as we all were, and being confronted with so many feelings that were so loud, and a lot of those fears and vulnerabilities, I think, were leading us in our virtual therapy sessions, which were plentiful at the time and continue to be, to do some like inner child work. And so we kind of channeled that into this narrative that we also wanted to shoot in quarantine, I think, because in addition to our fears around just the world at large, we were feeling really uncertain around what the future of filmmaking was going to look like. And I think we wanted to give ourselves the challenge to see if we could make a film in this time, and to do it safely, and to give all of our friends who are in the film an opportunity to sort of have a sense of play at a very bleak moment in all of our lives.
Right. Yeah. And then speaking of challenges, what were some challenges that you guys faced? Because you filmed this during the lockdowns in LA, correct? What sort of challenges did you guys face with the production of it all?
Just general global pandemic, no big deal, just a virus threatening humanity.
Yeah. And you guys did it early on, right before, people set out guidelines and stuff. So very, very interesting.
We shot it early summer. The guidelines were out, and there were lots of health and safety restrictions, which we did actually adhere to during the production, and it was challenging for that reason, obviously, for everyone to always be safe and sound, but also we were a smaller production and we produced it, as you said, ourselves under our production company, Mr. Lister Films. So we didn't have a studio or a lot of big, resources or like a crew that was significant to really, assist with the production. Mm-hmm. So it was challenging in that we were wearing lots of hats, but it was super freeing and fun to be lean and mean and just go out and focus on the story that we wanted to tell with a lot of fun people.
Yeah.
I would just add that for many of our actors, Kaylee and myself included, this was our first time being in front of the camera since lockdown, and having to sort of show up in that way, especially in a comedy, was challenging, I think, on a performance level, to make sure that we had it in us to do that with the sort of emotional roller coaster that we were all on.
Yeah. And Kaylee, I know you and Zoe, obviously you guys recently worked together on the craft, but what was sort of your initial thoughts when this came to you, and this idea of shooting during a lockdown came to you? What your initial thoughts were?
Yeah, like Zoe said, I think we really needed some sort of release. Lots of therapy sessions were happening. Zoe and I were doing socially distant, 6 feet apart walks, and we just had there's a lot of inner reflecting, maybe too much, um, and just I really had no idea where to put it, so when we all came up with the idea to do something creative, it was um, it was very exciting and was much needed for me during that time.
Mhm. And I found it interesting that the film never really mentions why the world is coming to an end. We can't assume that it's the pandemic, but what was the idea about just sort of leaving that out and focusing on Liza's journey and making amends with the people that she's estranged with?
Well, you eventually understand that there is a meteor coming to destroy Earth, but I think yeah, we wanted the audience to, I think, just be more rooted in what this woman was experiencing in terms of her fears and depression on the last day on Earth, and be able to be wrestling with a lot of those feelings.
Mhm,
And the idea of having the younger self made that kind of narrative device allowed us to be able to unpack a lot of those emotions, whereas if it was just Zoe walking around, or her character on her own, it would have been a much more silent film,
mhm,
or perhaps a lot more voiceover. So in that kind of Charlie Kaufman-esque way, it was fun to be able to have a physical manifestation of her mind appear so that they can kind of sort through everything that they're thinking and feeling.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah, and I think we just didn't, for Daryl and I, we weren't interested in watching a film about this specific pandemic. So like we didn't
Yeah,
want to make a film about it. We were
yeah.
all living it. Like we wanted to make a film that could sort of parallel it in terms of the like emotional landscape that we were all living in, but we didn't want it to be COVID-19 specific.
Right.
So I think that's why we sort of chose that alternate route.
Yeah, yeah. And then obviously the cast, I mean, just such a stacked cast of just, Olivia Wilde, Bradley Whitford, Whitney Cummings, just to name a few, but there's so many. So I'm curious, when you guys approached these people to be a part of this film, what were their thoughts? Were they apprehensive about shooting during this time? Like what, and like you said, Zoe, a lot of people, this is the first time they've been back on camera since everything happened. Like, what was that like, getting all that, like, the cast together?
I think I think it was kind of like a mixed bag. Like some people were too afraid to get back to work and just happy staying inside and being as safe as possible, which we totally respected and understood. Some were so eager and excited and like, yes, like tell me when and where, let's do it. And then some were kind of in the middle, like I want to do it. I'm a little bit nervous. For Olivia, it was her first time stepping outside and like, or doing something. And she told us it was amazing when she finally did show up on set. Like seeing us felt like she was
It was
like,
her first time driving her car, and she was like, "I didn't know if I was gonna forget how to drive."
but she said it was like a fever dream. Like,
Yeah.
and and yeah, each person that we encountered, like they're such incredible people and actors, and it was just like each one was a dream, like that we just never wanted to end. And it was so fun to just play with them. And luckily for us, we got to do that every day with Kaylee Spaney, the one and the only, who we're gonna adopt.
And just finally, I mean, obviously, we're still living in sort of scary times. There, not to say that there isn't light but we're still in this pandemic right now. What do you guys hope people take away from this film and Zoe and sorry, Liza's journey in the film?
Um, well, I guess I hope that people feel seen in it, and feel that there's like space for them to be reflected in this journey. Because I think that obviously we've all been really physically isolated, but I think emotionally it can feel so isolating to be confronted with so much of this sort of like listlessness and despair. And I think to know that you're not alone in that journey is really important for people, and sort of, buoying. And then also, while doing that, to be able to laugh and find some levity and find some like reprieve from this moment, while not denying its impact, I think is the general hope.
Yeah.
The only thing I would add would be that this was such a intense and profound year for the world and for humanity and for all of us. And there's an instinct to kind of want to, in some ways just like pretend it's not happening and like just push through. And I think for us, and why this film came to be, was because we were looking at looking at ourselves in an introspective way, and trying to not run away from a lot of those deep, dark feelings. And so I think it is important to take care of your inner child in so many ways, and like pay attention to what little you needs. So hopefully people will use this film as a little bit of like a mirror. Hopefully it can act as like a form of catharsis for them to think, oh man, like, yeah, what do I want out of 2021? Since I've had so much time to think about myself.
Right. You guys, thank you so much. Congrats on the film, and best of luck in everything that you guys do.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Amanda.
Yeah.
Talking to
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.